open the phones up for callers to break down their take on any of the news you'd like to talk about. First-time callers, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. But, again, if you're a new listener and you're driving down the road, you hear me claim that Mitt Romney and his wife are obsessed with only organic food. Just search engine it, and you'll see literally scores of articles where they've been profiled, and reporters have been in their house, and that's all they eat, going back a decade or more than a decade. Just look at the richer the neighborhood. All you see is organic food stores. All you see is Whole Foods. And it's the same in China. It's the same in Europe. It's the same in Japan. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is a eugenics program. Now, the average rich person isn't aware of this, but they follow suit with the real insiders that are obsessed with only organic food. And it's come out that David Rockefeller, it's come out the British royalty. In TV shows they're on, they have their own organic farms. They have chefs and aircraft that follow them with their purified water and their food. They are obsessed with it. Again, how do you kill wild animals you want to get rid of? You put poison in the food. Rats, they put poison in the food where it takes quite a bit of it to kill them, so they go off and die far away. Because if there's poison that kills rats right away and tastes bad, they won't eat it. It's got to build up. You want to kill a bunch of coyotes? You just poison a small water pool where they're drinking, and they'll come and drink it and die. This is what's being done to us. And don't believe me, just type in Monsanto's cafeterias don't serve GMO. You'll get AP, CBC, BBC. I mean, I've got the stacks right here. So, again, I'm going to say this. You're told all day, don't be an extremist. It's in government FBI manuals that people that don't like GMO are extremists. But understand, the rich people all over the world, in China, the LA Times reported, they have their own. They have their own secret farms. And in fact, guys, let's just show people this. I remember the LA Times, I covered it a few months ago. In China, elite have secret organic farms, or secret organic farms in China, because they don't want the public even knowing this. They don't want the population to be aware of this. So again, I'm going to say it for new listeners. The elite will not eat GMO. It came out 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that they would not give the German military the H1N1 shot, and that the shots that Merkel took on TV were, quote, special clean vaccines. In fact, people won't believe that if they're watching at prisonplanet.tv, but I love to do this little game with listeners, radio listeners. Type in German elite take clean vaccines. That was the word. Or take different vaccines. And then it turned out that all over Europe, special vaccines were sent to them. Oh, yeah, you better believe they were special. It's all just for show. They're not even taking them, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what it's all about. This is what social control is all about. This is what these control freaks are all about. And this is the final frontier of tyranny and takeover. And this is what it all comes down to, with you and your family resisting this. So I beg you to research what I'm saying. I beg you to find out what's going on. Of course, Monsanto is at board meetings now and meeting with the FDA and others with the heads of Whole Foods. Of course, they keep starting SEC investigations against Whole Foods for no reason over petty stuff like the CEO on message boards talking bad about his competition. And that's standard. That's free speech. And I said in 2007, I said, this is the end of them. They're going to take them over. They're based right here in Austin. And sure enough, they started having the meetings 6 months after. They stopped all the SEC investigations at that point. And Monsanto, at those meetings, there's public record, basically read them the riot act. And now, every week, more and more GMO, more and more. And they don't want it labeled. More and more brands that weren't GMO are now GMO. There it is, swine flu vaccine safety. German politicians get safer swine flu vaccine. Click on that article. It's Time Magazine. See the first link in the article? First link in the article. First paragraph says an article in this week. Yeah, that right there. There it is. In Germany, better vaccine for politicians. Listen to me. You are out of your mind if you take any of these vaccines or eat any GMO. Alex Jones here with a message that could revolutionize health in this country. Going back about a year and a half ago, I began to learn about the incredible health effects of Youngevity products. Aaron Dykes lost 92 pounds. We're going to show you some before and afters. Aaron, break down what happened, your story.
I've worked really hard with diet and exercise to try to lose weight, but I just didn't get the results. It just didn't happen. Then I saw what you were doing with InfoWarsTeam.com. I wasn't even trying to lose weight, but I got it because I wanted to feel better energy. I wanted that nutrition. Didn't even understand how that could kickstart my own weight loss goals. But the products did that for me. I found myself suddenly losing weight, more energetic, wanting to exercise, wanting to eat the right foods.
And they don't even advertise it as weight loss. I want to challenge our radio listeners to go to InfoWarsTeam.com, sign up as a distributor, and get wholesale pricing discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com. If you love your family, ladies and gentlemen, you better think twice about what you're eating and drinking and what you're giving your children. I mean, I go to these children's stores, and you look at the formula they're feeding children. We've done breakdowns of this on air with Mike Adams, and 70+% is corn syrup. Or it'll be 45% corn syrup and then 20% sugar and then 15% this type of sugar, and it's over 70% sugar. And then you read what mammals are supposed to drink, and only a smaller portion is supposed to be natural mother's sugar, the rest of it protein and things. I mean, no wonder brains are smaller now. No wonder IQs are lower. Look it up. North American IQs are dropping. IQs, the CC size of the brain. People are dumb for a reason. And it just upsets me to know they're shooting kids up everywhere with these vaccines. And the Canadian government had to admit, oh, yeah, if you took the H1N1 shot, it doubles your chances of getting the flu, and it destroys your immune system. And then there was a Russian study saying the same thing, and then a U.S.-based study. I mean, these are like major medical publications. The crazy thing is it's all admitted. The federal government, it came out a few months ago, 3 months after Fukushima, tuna, yellowfin tuna had already reached the San Diego area, and they were caught, and the feds were there testing it, but then didn't tell people that it had high levels of radiation. Because a big tuna is at the top of the food chain. It's eating all little fish. It's bioaccumulating, and then you're eating it. I've told the story about my wife, and we're going to your calls. She was in Europe, living in Europe as a child, I guess / young teenager or whatever, as teenager, when Chernobyl happened. And they remember getting powdered milk and food from the U.S. for more than 6 months, and it was on the news. She was, I guess, in Italy at the time. Do not eat anything grown, surface-grown in Europe. Do not drink milk, because surface-grown food like lettuce and things like that, beans, corn, whatever the case is, and milk, because cows are eating grass, it's raining down. It's bioaccumulating. It builds up and is secreted, because the body's trying to get rid of it, and then you drink it. Nowadays, I've had Dr. Busby and others on. Within a few months, it was 10 times more radiation coming into the U.S. than what Chernobyl was doing. And they're just like, hey, we're raising the level and saying it's safe. The elite are nuts. They've started smoking their own dope. Well, they think they can avoid all this just by eating at Whole Foods. They think they can avoid this just by having their own gardens and farms. It's spreading into everything. It's the old Bible saying of, don't dig a pit for someone else because you're going to be the one that falls into it, to butcher the quote. The wicked flee when none pursue. They're fleeing from the poor people they want to kill, and then they end up running off the cliff themselves. I mean, I just hope our species can make it. All right, I'm done ranting. I like to win-win, support our broadcast, and also protect yourself. The best gravity-fed filters out there, what I use for my family, is ProPur, and we have it already at the lowest price anywhere at InfoWarsStore.com. But if you use the promo code WATER at checkout, you get 10% off. No one can beat that deal. InfoWarsStore.com. We got the life straws, all of it. We got the Modifylon, incredible seaweed from off the coast of New Zealand where the radiation isn't. making it one of the few places in the world there in that hemisphere. I talked to all the experts that said, this is the detoxer right here. This will help get the heavy metals and radiation out of you. And it's what I and my children are taking, Modifilin, discounted with free Citizen Rule Book at InfoWarsStore.com or link through at InfoWars.com or call 888-253-3139. Okay, let's go to your phone calls. Let's talk to George in FEMA Region 1. Sorry, we're not in states anymore. What is FEMA Region 1? Is that up in Maine? Where are you calling from?
Connecticut. That's actually all of New England.
Yeah, sure. I was just guessing that it might be. So you're calling from Connecticut. That's in southern FEMA Region 1, formerly Connecticut. Good to have you on with us.
Alex, thank you for everything you do. I'm calling in today to bring to your audience attention a couple of independent films that I feel are relevant to current events. The first film is titled Compliance, more or less a clear representation of the training that our entire society is going through, and you talked about it earlier. The second film is a Spanish-language film titled Miss Bala, as in bullet in Spanish. That movie more or less accurately depicts the hellhole that life in northern Mexico has become. Pretty much the whole entire population has been taken hostage with that war between the Mexican government and, of course, the drug cartels. Of course,
and then in between the two of them working together, they crush the people in the middle.
Pretty much. I mean, just, get one of your guys to look at it, review it, and it's pretty accurate. You don't know who the good guy is.
Powerful. I want to see both those. I wish I could speak Spanish, but I can watch the subtitles. What else is on your mind today, sir? What do you make of my breakdown of the elite won't take the vaccines, won't do the GMO? They even tell newspapers this, but then they want to make us eat it. I mean, how obvious does it get? They avoid it like the plague, but then the police manuals say if you don't like GMO, you're an extremist.
Approximately 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes, believe it or not, type 2. So what we did is we just, reevaluated everything, and I started eating natural. They got me on medicine, and literally the medicine got me sicker. I literally stopped taking it and avoid the sugars, avoid the processed foods, and literally my blood level has gone down to normal. Now, granted, I don't believe that I am cured, but I believe that if I watch what I eat, I should be okay.
Well, that's right. What's the number with Hispanics? I know overall type 2, last number I saw was up over 3,000%, but I was seeing a number just a few months ago where within 10 years, they say half of Hispanics will have type 2 diabetes?
Probably. I believe that half of us already do. But the thing is that, it's not diagnosed. And
well, all that's race-specific. I mean, that's why some African countries, half the women have HIV. And then people say, well, wait, HIV isn't killing all these rich people in the U.S. who have it. That's because HIV is the cover virus for other bioweapons they're releasing. But they've proven that the HIV virus cannot couple with the Northern Europeans' T lymphocytes. They're not the receptors. It's designed to kill people of color. And again, it's like, oh, it's just a rumor, even though top scientists have come out about this, even though the UN's been caught injecting people in Africa with hepatitis, with HIV, with polio. It doesn't matter. We're still supposed to trust them. I mean, everybody knows Western governments have been caught shooting people up with deadly things on purpose. So why do we let them shoot us up with anything? I mean, isn't that just common sense?
Pretty much. I mean, now that you mention it, it's... Well, let's put it this way. The people in Latin America, yes, there is a percentage of people who do have diabetes, but it's not as bad as here. Or maybe they're not diagnosing it over there.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Mexico doesn't have as much GMO, but as you know, in some areas, half the diet is the thousands of varieties of corn that originates in southern Mexico. And they have every corn variety has now been infected with just one type of Monsanto corn. So again, these are bioweapons, you can't deny it, designed to take everything over. See, plants, and I appreciate your call for those that don't know, they don't have one daddy and one mommy. You can have hundreds of genetic types going in to a plant and then expressing their genetics. That's why Monsanto can plant its canola, its soybeans, its corn right next to you. Then they go in and trespass, pull up your corn, pull up your canola, go test it. And if less than 1% of their genetics is in your plant, that you have a record you bought the seeds, it's clearly not theirs, it's not 100%, it's not even 1% theirs, the courts then rule you infringed on them. Now that'd be like, use a terrible analogy, it'd be like if you came into my living room and defecated all over the coffee table and then called the police. And the police came and they said, hey, Mr. Jones is trespassing on me. I defecated on his table. And the police said, get up against the wall, Jones, you're going to jail. Because he defecated on your table. I mean, and of course, I'm saying that to get your attention. It'd be more like if somebody came to your house and put 10-foot cobras, king cobras, in your bedroom. And then they bit you and your wife and you're dying, and the guy that did it calls the cops, and the cops show up and he goes, I put king cobras in their bedroom and they bit them and they're killing them. I want them arrested. They trespassed. And the cops are like, absolutely, absolutely. And the cops slap you in irons as you're dying and take you to jail for the king cobras biting you because you infringed on them. They infect you, and then they literally ran all the key judges because they have one federal court that decides these cases in St. Louis, and it's their guy. And then they have the head of the EPA, the head of the FDA. They have their people everywhere, but the head of the FDA. And then they just rule. They just rule. They rule. They rule. You got the head of Whole Foods not playing ball with them? Boom, hit him with SEC. Call him into a meeting months after. I said, SEC just hit him for no reason. You watch, they're going to roll over. They use the SEC. Mark Cuban wanted to put out a film I was producing. SEC called him up and emailed him. I remember hearing about it going, really? And then later it was in the New York Times. And the New York Times was like, is it wrong that the Bush administration called Mark Cuban and said, if you put out that 9/11 film, we'll have you arrested? And then there was a copy of the email. They were so arrogant, they emailed him. We're going to put you in prison. And again, Mark Cuban had done nothing. He'd sold some stock in one of his company, wasn't even $1 million of it. They said, well, you're the owner of the company. You had knowledge of something. We're going to, but you know, the Mackey, the head of Whole Foods, Mackey had just gone on a message board and talked down his competition. I mean, that's just standard fare. Oh, they were going to put him in jail. And I said, watch, they're going to take over. He'll meet with Monsanto. Boom. 2 months, three months later, met with them. It's all over. I've experienced how this works. You know how surreal it is to be sitting at Charlie Sheen's house and, oh, we just got bad word. We got to talk to Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, they're on the phone sitting there talking to me. He hangs up and he's like, yeah, Mark Cuban says he just got threatened by the Bush people. They called him. I didn't know there was an email, too, and said, you do this, you're going to go to jail. Well, we'll find something in your stock portfolio. As a guy worth like $3 billion at the time. I don't know what he's worth now. And I was like, really? Mark Cuban? If you're over at Charlie Sheen's house, it's like, you know, professional basketball player shows up, movie stars show up. You know, you go to a party down the street with his wife, and it's, you know, at an NBA star's house. I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, it's just an other world in those neighborhoods. You know, you're out front of the house, and there's Vanna White walking her dog. And I'm not throwing out names here. It's just, but I mean, I've experienced this. Is how I've learned this. Oh, they're going to put me in jail if I put this out, so I'm done. And then they told Cuban, they go, we don't care if you dropped it. You're still going to jail. Cuban beat that SEC investigation. It's like a crooked toenail thing. Dirt under his fingernails. He did nothing, like Martha Stewart. And they're still going after him 5 years later. 5 years later. It's by the grace of God I'm still alive. It is because of your prayers, folks. I want people to understand how real this is, okay? I want you to understand how real this is. I had just experienced that with Charlie Sheen when I saw the thing with the head of Whole Foods. I know how they work, and now we've reverse engineered the whole deal. So I don't even really blame Whole Foods. They got taken over. We just have to now support. I mean, is this the end of Whole Foods? We have to now support other places and vote with our dollars. We're in a war with these people. Let's go ahead and go to more calls. Nicole in North Carolina, you're on the air.
How you doing, Alex?
Pretty good.
Wonderful. I actually wanted to get your opinion and your gut feeling on when you think the financial collapse may happen. I know Mike Kaiser keeps saying April 2013, but you know, me personally, I just feel like something sooner is going to happen, and I just wanted to see what your opinion was and maybe what Gerald Salente's opinion was.
Sure. Let me say this about Max. Max is really smart. He really did invent some of the basic virtual trading stuff used on all the markets now. He was a top stockbroker that worked with George Soros' son at the top firm. I mean, he's a smart guy. I know he's listening right now. But he was wrong about silver going to 500. And I disagreed with him at the time. I said, they got a lot of tricks up their sleeves. But now they are being caught being short, and silver's going back up. And if it ever does break out, it probably will go to 500. That's what a lot of experts say it should really be at for 1970s inflation numbers, if you go from 1970 forward. So Max is right about, about 95% of the time. He's right about stuff that I think is wild. So I'm not poo-pooing Max. I'm sitting around with my wife around the coffee table going, well, Max has been wrong before. I hope he's wrong this time. But it's in the cards. It's a very good chance what he's saying will happen. And government is running around like it's about to happen. They've never run around like this before. They've never been digging in. They've never been running around like chickens with their heads cut off like this. I've never had the law enforcement sources saying October, November, all Hades is going to break loose. But that could be hype. They're being fed as well. So I'm not, listen, I got a lot of family who can hardly get to work because of how much gas is. Most places I used to go eat have closed. I live in the wealthiest city in the country per capita. You know, the best. I live in Boomtown, USA, Austin, Texas. #1 place to live. Forbes, Money Magazine, you name it. #1, New York Times, they all say Austin, Texas. And the economy's rough here because there's also inflation. I've tried to raise more money, do more things so I could pay my employees a livable wage, my crew. And even though my crews probably paid double on average what they were 5, 6, 7 years ago, many of them, you know, it's not what it used to be because things are falling apart. So we're already, listen, a depression is 3/4 of continued non-growth. That's going into a depressionary slump. There's a few other factors involved. We were in a depression 3.5 years ago, according to every mainline metric. So, but it's such an organized depression where the elites are getting unlimited trillions, and then the general public's not getting any of that largesse. So there's not a ton of inflation because it's only in luxury items. So it's a very complex issue, but it's also simple at the same time. So look, people are saying, Alex, where's the war with Iran you talked about? I've got C-SPAN. I've got the media saying there is a war in Iran. There are proxy wars in Iran. There are proxy wars in Libya, Syria, all over the Middle East, all over the world. There are proxy wars now. In fact, here it is. White House widening covert war in North America. Excuse me, because that's a Freudian slip. They're attacking us here as well. White House widening covert war in North Africa. And what's their excuse? They say Al-Qaeda's there. I appreciate your call. Who did they put in to North Africa, into the Middle East, into Central Asia? Al-Qaeda. Who do they run? The CFR 2 months ago said, yeah, we run Al-Qaeda. We need Al-Qaeda. But because they haven't told us we're in a depression, the average person says, when is it coming? Because they haven't told us enough, I guess, that there's giant proxy wars with hundreds of thousands of people dying. There's hundreds of thousands dead in these proxy wars in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, in Iran, in Pakistan, in Sudan. Hundreds of thousands dead the last few years. I mean, that's a big, big, fat war. That's a big, fat, hot war.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
Got a lot of evil people who've gotten in positions of power, and they figured out ways to steal money off the public, and that destroys prosperity. So they've just codified Agenda 21 as a political system that dresses up the implosion of society as if it's a political movement and a good thing. So they can act like, look what we're building as we wreck things. We planned this. So it's really a delusion within a fraud. Really, they just can only steal and dumb people down and poison everybody and then give them some treatment for it. And that's what we're fighting. And we've got to get people out of their comfort zone, out of their trance, and upset about what's happening. And it's starting to happen. That's why the globalists are getting ready to start big wars and try to accelerate the collapse. I mean, they're already collapsing Europe. I mean, some areas of Europe have 50% unemployment. Places like Spain in below 30. They're burning down grocery stores all over the place. I mean, look at Greece. Look at Ireland's going down. Look at Chicago. Look at L.A. I mean, it's hellish. It's here. You've got the haves and the have-nots, and there's less and less haves. And it's by design. It's very scary. So the lady's asking, when does the collapse happen? And it started happening a long time ago. I mean, we've gone back to 1960s levels of wealth. We've lost 40-plus years of wealth in just the last 4 years. The Federal Reserve admits that we've lost 40 years of wealth generation. They sucked it out, though, to make us poor because they want to control us. It's called feudalism. It's called siege. It's called domestication. I mean, you know, the old, they had a HBO special about pimps, I was told about. I found the clip online, and this prostitute's been hit by a car. She's in there all with a body cast on, and the mother's in there with her, and the pimp comes in, and she goes, oh, baby, baby, I'm going to get you the money. I'm going to get back on the street right now, baby. I'm going to do everything for you right now, sweetie. I'm going to do everything I can for you. He's like, you better get out there, baby. You better get out there and do it for me right now. She's like, I will, baby, I will. And the mother looks at him and said, what have you done to my baby? What have you done to my daughter? And they ask the pimp, they go, what do you pay her? What percentage? He goes, I give her nothing. He goes, she's lucky if I don't beat her. He goes, she's lucky if I give her some fried chicken. And he just looks at the mother and she just grovels when the mother should have just physically attacked him right there. But I mean, this is how women are on average. You know, girls like the bad guy, at least a lot of the modern women. They mistake a bad guy for a tough guy a lot of times. And that's how you pick up the most gorgeous women, is you go up and make a joke at them or insult them. It's over. You know, she's going home with you tonight. And if you treat women good, they're going to treat you bad. And that's how it is. You don't treat women good. You treat women bad. I refuse to treat women bad. I just ignore them when they play their games. See, women are the weaker of the sex. They try to dominate the male. It's cave politics. But I don't want to get off into this, and it's not all women, but the way women have been programmed, 80% of advertising targets women because women make the decisions. So in a feminist system, you don't have women in charge. You have dumbed-down women who are clients of the government who run around henpecking men all day and who think a hatred of men is going to empower them. So as a society, we've been pimped. All of us are like women to the state. We've been taught to just do what the pimp says. I don't know how I got off into this discussion. You know, my point is that government's here to break us. They're here to pimp us. They're running pimp game on us. And I'm not here to be pimped. So I'm going to treat the government bad. And I'm going to let them know they're not uppity. They're not my boss. They're not my, you know, I mean, I'm telling the pimp who's trying to run game on me, I'm like, listen, pimp, go ahead and throw the first punch. I'm going to break your neck. How's that sound, pimp? Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.